So this piece of plastic claims to be a camera. It has a lens, it says 35mm on the front, and it has a space to load film. So how good is it? So this 35mm focus-free piece of plastic that's claiming to be a camera is what some people would refer to as a reusable disposable camera. And it is essentially most of the parts of a disposable camera, but it's made in a way that actually allows you to reload and rewind the film so you can reuse it. Hence in the name, reusable disposable. But the problem is these little cameras are often hateful little things compared to even disposable cameras. So the question is it actually worth buying one of these over a disposable camera? And should you actually just save up the pennies and buy a nice little 35mm camera, maybe a small SLR like an Olympus OM10 with a cheap lens? Hint, the answer is always going to be buy the nice camera. But I wanted to test if that was really the case, so I decided to compare this to my Nikon F3. So the lenses on these kind of cameras and disposable cameras tends to be about a 30mm f dark lens. So to approximate that, I'm going to be using the 24mm f 2.8 Nikkor AFD lens on the F3. Now the reason I'm going with a 24 is because I wanted something a little wider than 35, and the fact that my 35mm manual focus lens is currently broken after dropping it on concrete, and there's also the fact that I just don't have a 28mm lens that works in this camera. So we're just going to use the 24mm and deal with it. Normally this retracts. In most cameras this like prong thing is spring loaded, so you can just push the film over it. Okay, so it turns out you just have to push it really hard. And then it should load up. Can I get 2 frames out of this? Okay, so wound on. Okay, so I think I've actually loaded this. Now I don't trust the hatch on this at all, so I'm going to get some gaff tape. It's a bit better sealed than it was. And now to load an actual camera. Seems like me and half of the goddamn country are heading up here. Well, I made it. Nice big car park here, which is nice before heading up for a little walk. Time to go home. Come on. Fuck am I sitting on? Lens cap. So one issue I ran into while testing this camera, as you probably gather from the photos, is the simple fact that a lot of the images came out hilariously underexposed. And that is because a camera like this with an f dark lens is really designed for shooting in bright midday conditions with 400 or 800 ISO film. So to properly get the most out of this camera, I probably should have shot this on a bright sunny day with decent quality film in it. However, there's a problem with that. And it's the simple fact that for the last 10 days here in Dublin, there has been no sunshine at all. It has just been boring, flat, grey skies. And as you've probably gleaned from the pictures, if you stray out of those conditions with a camera like this with zero control over anything to do with your exposure, you're just not going to get a very good image. And that's why all my images in here are hilariously underexposed. Even when I use them with the flash, they're still just comically bad. So obviously comparing something like this to the f3 is just hilarious because this thing is basically a fully automatic single shutter speed pre-programmed piece of junk in comparison to the f3, which gives you basic things like the ability to set an ISO or to change the shutter speed, or even, get this, you could open up the lens further than f dark, allowing it to gather more light in a dark situation. Which means this can actually take a picture in situations where this just turns into a horribly underexposed mess. However, the 35mm focus free does have a slight advantage over something like the f3, and that is the fact that it actually has a built-in flash. And that means you can go up to people in parties and take horrible flash pictures of them with this little camera, and then you can embarrass them later when you get them developed. So to wrap up this video, should you buy one of these cheap little reusable disposable cameras? And the answer is no. The long answer is no, dear God no, please no, don't buy these pieces of junk. And the reason is, while it is an easy way to get into film, it's just pointless because film is actually quite expensive now. And if you're going to make the investment in buying rolls of film and getting it developed and scanned, you really do want to make an investment into a small, decent little camera, something nice and cheap, that you can learn to use and shoot your photos on that way, and you'll get infinitely better results. But on the flip side, another reason why you would look at a camera like this would be because you want to actually get the aesthetic of the image it produces with its soft plastic lens and with the harsh flash. You know, maybe you want it for nostalgia reasons. I would still not recommend buying one of these. Instead, a much better option is to take a disposable camera and remove the lens and mount it onto a body cap for a digital camera, and that way you can take digital photos with that aesthetic, and that way you're not having to waste or buy really expensive film to take really low quality images. It's a much better choice to just do that digitally and then stick a little small flash on your digital camera to get the harsh flash look if you really want that. And that way you can get the aesthetic of the images from this really easily, rather than having to buy really expensive film and go through the hassle of developing it and scanning it. Unless you really want to. But as for me, even though I got this camera for free as a prize from a table quiz, I will never ever shoot this camera again. See you next time.